Hey folks, so I'm sitting here in Manhattan and I decided I had to make a special comment for my friends on social media, YouTube, Facebook, and whatnot about the James Comey testimony that we just saw. So let's give a little setting of the scene, right? CNN had a clock and they were counting down to James Comey's testimony, right? 36 hours, 24 hours, 8 hours, finally James Comey is going to testify, right? Now, there were bars across the country, bars in Brooklyn here in New York, crowded full of people, you know, gathered with alcohol in their hands, sitting there as if this was like a sporting event, like it was the World Cup or the Super Bowl, and they're sitting around waiting for James Comey, the fired FBI director, to testify, right? There were school kids. This blows my mind. So teachers across the country adjusted their lesson plans so that they would include James Comey's testimony in their classes with their school kids. So millions of school kids, captive audiences no less, are sitting around watching James Comey, fired FBI director, testify. Like, all kinds of hype. I've never seen the FBI, or I've never seen the media hype a hearing, a congressional hearing like this. This was crazy. The whole country was being told, this is going to be the most important thing you ever see. You better tune in. You don't want to miss it. This is going to be the epic event of your life. Don't miss James Comey's testimony, right? And so finally, after all this hype, James Comey gets up in front of the committee. And so you start watching him, and he starts using all these interesting phrases, right? He's up there at one point, he says, "Holy cow, holy cow." At another point in the testimony, James Comey is saying, "Oh lordy, I hope there's tapes. Oh lordy, oh lordy." Who says that anymore? I mean, this is really archaic. Another part, he's saying, you know, they ask him at one point, they say to him, "Why should we believe you and not Trump?" And he says, "Well, you know, my mama didn't raise me to talk that way about myself." So you got to look this up. James Comey's not from Alabama. He's not from West Virginia. He's not from Nebraska. James Comey's from New York. He's from Yonkers, New York, and he spent a lot of his life in New Jersey. I mean, this is just an act. He's putting on some folksy performance. Oh, look at me, I'm one of the common people, and just really hamming it up and talking about it. Furthermore, the testimony, it has a lot of interesting references. At one point he says, "Well, I'm not Captain Courageous. I'm not Captain Courageous." Captain Courageous is a novel written by Rudyard Kipling, published in 1897. Another part, Angus King, Senator Angus King, is asking him a question, and he says, "Isn't it kind of like Thomas à Becket?" Thomas à Becket. This is a priest who was murdered in the year 1170, and he's talking about Thomas à Becket, a priest who was killed in the year 1170. We're talking about medieval history. I mean, this was a really outlandish performance, all about, you know, did Trump obstruct justice? And I mean, this had been really well rehearsed, all kinds of hype. The whole country was watching it. And then lo and behold, just, you know, over an hour after the testimony is finished, after James Comey's done testifying, after the whole country has just taken a sigh of relief, watched over 2 hours of the former fired FBI director testifying, after it's all finally over, Donald Trump's lawyer comes out and talks for 10 minutes and points out that it was a lie. One of the things that Comey kept saying throughout the entire time he was testifying is he kept saying that oh my gosh, you know, Donald Trump's tweets caused me to leak my memos to the press. I saw Donald Trump's tweets about were there tapes of our conversations, and that caused me to have to give my memos of the conversations over to the press. Well, lo and behold, we find out from Trump's lawyer, he points out the New York Times was quoting those memos before Donald Trump's tweets. So all the times he repeated that he leaked and he gave this information, he leaked this possibly, this information that was not public, FBI memos of his conversations with Trump. All this time he's saying he did it because of Trump's tweets, and that's not true. He gave it to the New York Times before that. The New York Times was quoting and making reference to these leaks prior to him giving them away, so he was up there lying. I mean, this was a performance. This was some classic politics. We have the FBI director, the fired FBI director, standing in front of a congressional committee, you know, using all these folksy terms and folksy language, talking about, you know, novels published in 1897, talking about Thomas à Becket and ancient medieval history, everything to tell us that Donald Trump is no good, that we got to get rid of Donald Trump, talking about how the reputation of the FBI has been besmirched, and oh, the people in the FBI, they can't stand how badly they're being disrespected. And all along, just an hour later, you know, it comes out that he was lying. He was lying. It turns out he did not give that information to the press because of Donald Trump's tweets. The press had it beforehand. He gave it to them before the tweets. This is a farce. You know, mainstream media has really been putting one over on the U.S. public. I have never seen such a mobilization of people, you know, urging them, you know, everyone got to watch this congressional committee hearing. You want to talk about propaganda? This, what mainstream media did today with the FBI director, the fired FBI director's testimony, this was propaganda like we've never seen. You know, people should really think twice before listening to the mainstream press after what happened today.